days. Anand, maybe you could go first.
Well, I learned how to play chess from my mother. I was quite fortunate. Typically, most chess players at that time learned it from a family member or a close friend. And if you were lucky to have someone in your family who knew how to play chess, that increased the odds that you might play chess by a lot. So very, very serendipitous. But my mother used to play chess. My uncles, her younger brothers, also played chess. Some of them played at university. So there was some background. And one day, I was 6 years old. One day I saw my elder brother and sister playing. And so I wanted to join in, of course, as the youngest. And my mother said, okay, I'll show you how to play. Then a few days later, they saw that I kept on coming back to the chessboard. And this might be a little bit of a surprise. Might have been a bit of a surprise. I can see it myself. You know, I teach my son something, and you never know if he's going to forget about it in a day or continue. So it went like this. Then they saw that I seemed to be attracted to this game. So then they came, bought the first chess book for me. So I would look at this, but total mystery. Then they found the first chess club. And this was again fortunate. You couldn't search for these things very easily. But my sister's college happened to be right opposite the chess club. So my mother took me to the chess club to join, and off I went. I was very young, so my mother was concerned because the general profile of a chess player was someone who was much older, and she wanted to know I'd be safe. And but there were a couple of people at the club said, okay, don't worry, we'll look after him, we'll make sure somebody plays against him and so on. Very nice. And that's how it began. I don't necessarily know that what my parents thought at that stage. It was just one more hobby. I mean, I was playing other sports in other places, and it seemed like one more thing. But this was the thing that I was most attracted to. Every Monday evening, every Thursday evening, the whole of Sunday I would go there and just play blitz all the time. Then the first few competitions started coming and so on. It didn't affect me at that stage. I mean, I was 7, 8 slowly. I went to the Philippines for a year, but I was still only in 5th standard. And once again in the Philippines, we landed. My mother immediately found out, where I could play chess. And same thing. She would take me to every tournament, accompany me to the venue, make sure I got through everything, we would come back. And in the Philippines, there was a TV show during the day about chess. But I would be at school because they didn't expect that the audience was necessarily young, so they just scheduled it at that time. And my mother would write down everything they said. They would give a puzzle at the end, and I would come back home from school. Then after I finished my homework, we would look at that and so on. I'm just trying to give a sense that my parents were very, very committed. My father was very supportive as well, though he didn't know anything about chess. But he was very supportive. They let me play and everything. By the time I came back here, got to maybe the 9th standard, then it was becoming tricky because I was starting to travel everywhere to compete. And, my parents could see that I was really keen on the game and pretty good at it. I was one of the top juniors in the country, and I'd had a breakthrough year. So I was even one of the top players in the men's game, and they might have been nervous at this stage. I don't know, but I'm grateful that it never occurred to them to try to warn me off, because it's not a nice feeling for someone if you don't feel that your family is totally behind you. The most important thing is, to hold your tongue. Even if you're uncomfortable, just let it go. And I was lucky. And then I was very lucky with the timing of many things. That before when I did my 10th standard exams, I became national champion. a few months after my 12th standard, I became the world junior champion and then a bit later grandmaster. And when I finished my BCom, I was already in the top 10 in the world. Now, this is very, very lucky.
I like how you make it seem so easy. Like, there's a linear graph to.
Yes, but it's incredibly lucky that it happened in this way because a year off, and you see, 10th standard, you're really thinking, should I do career, chess, all these doubts are there, and then you win the national championship, your parents breathe a bit easier, and everything goes fine. Of course, later on, my parents said, no, we always knew. But as a parent also now, I begin to suspect, but that's how it goes.
Benefit of hindsight always helps.
Yes, very much. And that's how it went. So very, very supportive atmosphere at home. And honestly, I don't think it would have happened without that. So on top of that, the fact that my mother was the reason I got into the game, I think just adds to that. And my father, well, though he didn't come from the chess side, he would give me lots of good advice. I remember a couple of times, a lot of people would tell me to not play so fast. But he had this sense, no, you play fast, that's you. You can't be otherwise, just keep playing fast. And so I continued doing that. And later on, it turned out to be one of my strengths. So lots of good insights.
Fantastic, Anand. And if I remember right, it used to be called the Whiz Kid because of the speed.
Lightning Kid.
The Lightning Kid because of the speed that used to play. Yeah, thank you. Geet, you, and by the way, Anand, one thing that stays with me, I have a 9-year-old daughter, so the thing that I remember is bite my tongue and don't say anything. So, Geet?
Yeah, I'll pick up from Anand when he said that, when he was in grade 10, he won some the junior nationals and junior nationals. No, the actual nationals. So, yeah. So, but it's incredible because when I was in 10th in 1976, I won the first ever junior national billiard championship that was held. And I was playing exactly for 2 years. I won in 78, that was my 12th. I just won the juniors again, but I didn't win the seniors. So finally I won in 81 in Chennai. I remember defeating Michael Ferreira at the university ground somewhere here. There was a university stadium. But I think the role of parents is absolutely there, just like Anand's mother and dad, for me, my dad was a very wise man, and he again came from a very middle class, almost lower middle class kind of a family. But I think a person like Anand, when at 6 you see a chessboard and you keep coming back to it, I think parents get a sense that there's something abnormal about this. And when you are so deeply committed to a particular sport, so I used to play every sport in school: volleyball, cricket, basketball. I used to play table tennis, badminton. I was a state level swimmer. But at the age of 13, when I started playing billiards, I just stopped playing every other sport. And I think my parents kind of sensed that this guy is, when you're playing 7 hours a day and 8 hours a day and you live in the billiard room, it's visible. It's visible definitely to your parents that this guy is, he's not passionate. He's kind of obsessed, manic obsessed in this. And I believe that if there is that kind of obsession, your parents will recognize it and they'll kind of be a little lenient. So my brother was supposed to kind of, be in the top 10 in the class. But my dad for me said, hey, it's okay. You try and get a 60% because, 60, anything over 60 is fine. And then you do what you want, play as much as you want, but get me a 60%. And I used to stop playing before my board exam. I remember I used to play for 8 hours a day, but 2 months before my board exam, I used to put my cue aside and just study. And I would get like 60.05% and 60. So I kind of, and it was really a
That
deal.
also was planned to precision. Huh?
Yeah, but it was a deal. And really it was a deal. And I kept to what dad wanted, and it happened. So that was a support part of it. And he just allowed me to flourish. Not that he would, come and watch me play, or in fact, he would never come and watch me play. So that was a support point of view. But I think parents play a very, very important role. Once a child wins a junior national championship, championship or a senior national championship, you're still 15, 16, 17, 18, very impressionable. So I'll give you the story of my dad, and I think his greatest contribution when I look back is to what he did to me, or how he behaved and interacted with me after I won a big national championship and came back with a big trophy. So the year's 1976, I go to Jamshedpur. I'm in the 10th standard. You know, it's the first ever junior nationals held, and I come back with this. It was really a massive trophy, okay? And I mean, earlier I had got cups in TT, and they used to be so tiny, you know? And there's this huge silver trophy, and you know, it was a 48-hour train journey from Jamshedpur back, and my dad was at the station, you know, and he had a Lambretta scooter, and he hugged me and, you know, picked my bag. I took my cue and trophy very proudly, kind of going, sat behind him on the scooter, one bag behind, the trophy in the middle between him and me, and one cue in the front, you know, on my dad's shoulder. And there we go home. We go home, and of course, Mom, beta, you know, bada trophy jeet ke aaya hai, and she was there at the opening, you know, with a thali and doing a lovely aarti and tika and oh come son, and you know, she made some lovely suji ka halwa. Beta kya khayega? She made me a great meal, and this was like at about 11 in the morning, and I had that full meal, and my dad was sitting quietly on the side. My mom finished with all her indulgence, and she really indulged me, okay? And I said, wow, this is good, you know, I think I should win more titles, come be properly pampered. And my mom finished with this, I ate my meal, and my dad did the most amazing thing in retrospect. At that time, it was a very normal thing. He just told me, he said, beta, mera juta polish kar de. Just polish my shoes here. And see, both of us used to polish our shoes together. Me for my school shoes to be polished. I mean, my brother and me, we used to sit down with him, and he would polish his shoes to go to office the next day. And it was the most natural thing. I said, yeah, sure, which one? You know, Dad, brown or black? He said, nahi, brown wala wo ganda hai. So, and I just went and started polishing his shoes. And I look back, but every time he would ask this of me only when I come back with a big trophy. So, 1777, I came back again with, I won some 6 junior things on the trot. Every time he asked me either to polish his shoes, or to wash the scooter, or to clean the carburetor of the scooter. And I think that is his great contribution as a parent, yeah. Just to kind of, when you're growing up, you're impressionable. It's so easy to kind of go whack-headed, you know, and say, wow, you know, I'm kind of God's gift to billiards. But he just kept me grounded with these very subtle and fantastic kind of very wise men. So I think that contribution of parents, you know, that way is very, very immense.
9 world titles. There must have been a lot of very clean shoes in Geet Sethi's house.
The other day, actually, my wife tweeted, I was just polishing my shoes, and it's kind of a habit, you know, I clean my own shoes, and she took a photo and kind of, she tweeted it saying that, you know.
I'm going to go home tomorrow morning flight when my daughter comes back from school. I'll tell her to polish my shoes, maybe. There are 17 world, no, sorry, my maths is right here, 9 plus 8, 17 world titles sitting to the left of me. So many world titles for both of you all. Tough question, but what has been the most memorable moment for both of you all in this long career, if you all could pick 1 or 2 moments?
For me, my world titles are definitely memorable because each one literally is the payoff for years and years of effort. First you think about it, then you think about all the things that have to happen, and finally it happens. And the sad thing is it's over in 5 minutes. 5 minutes later, you think, yes, that's it. Now what's next? And it's quite sad that, you spend 8-9 years working for something, and if you can't appreciate it for 8 or 9 years, I think it's a pity, but that's how it is. If I had to select one, I would select my match with Gelfand in 2012, simply because that whole match, it felt like I was just surviving from day to day, and then only in the tie breaks I was able to win. But there are moments I remember more fondly. There will be junior tournaments from school which I'll remember some games only because I beat somebody I really disliked. And you've,
That's a beautiful feeling, right?
it's a beautiful feeling. It lasts longer than the world title. You feel satisfied for much longer, and you can look back and play. So little things like that, or the first cup you win, all these things are wonderful as well. And maybe one more thing I'll just mention: the most pleasant experience is when something unexpected happens. So many times in my career, I've hit a wall where I might go a long time with mediocre results. Then you finally think you can't get any worse. Then you spend months trying to get out of this hole just to break out. And it almost always happens, like a wave, you literally, once you hit bottom, then the only way is up and you will come out. So over time, I became more relaxed in these situations. But when you've stopped trying to even tell yourself what is my goal in this tournament or what am I looking forward to, you play. One example, I was going to play the World Rapid Championship in 2017 in Riyadh. And when I was going there, I'd just come off last place in a tournament in London. So, and it was totally irritating because there was no need to be in last place. I didn't have to spoil that game in the last round. You're just angry with yourself and just, I don't know, it just irritates you all day long. Every time you think about it, you get angry. Anyway, I went to Riyadh and I was not even supposed to go there. My original plan was to go on holiday, but then somehow somebody called me and said, why didn't you come? It'll be a nice tournament. So I reluctantly went. And I went there thinking 10th place would be nice. Just not to have these awful results I've been having, 10th place, because it is a Swiss with a couple of hundred players. So 10th place would be good. And after the 3-day tournament, I suddenly found myself as the winner. So that moment also comes, and it's one of the nicest things to look forward to. So we all talk about, what is it like to have a bad time, but much better is what it's like to have a good one after that. And so for me, those are the most memorable. Riyadh in 2017, same thing happened when I lost my world title. Then literally when everybody thought I had a good chance of finishing 7th in the candidates, and I probably thought 4th would be nice, and I went and won it. Same thing happened in Prague. Repeatedly, you find there's the light at the end of the tunnel is very, very beautiful. So memorable.
Excellent. Geet, for you, your most memorable moment of your career?
So for me, I won my first world title at 85. When you win your first world title, it always has a special place. And then I won again. The World Billiard Championship used to be held every 2 years at the time. So 85 and then 87, I defended my title in Belfast. But then I went through a very bad patch between 88, 89 to 92. For 3 years, I was playing at a very high level in terms of actual performance, and then my game dropped off a cliff. And then it took me 3 years to rediscover my game, to kind of redo my technique. I de-learned my old technique, built a new technique, and finally got a new technique, and then came back in 92 and won a world professional championship along with I defeated Mike Russell in the final. And in that, actually, I made a world record break of 1,276. So I think that stands out. Predominantly because the first 2 world titles were like, you're young, you're just going one way. It's kind of, it's a takeoff. But the real thing is when you go through a bad patch and you kind of, it's very frustrating, and you go through a 3-year bad patch, it takes
questioning yourself.
Yeah, you do. And so that was a very satisfying win.
Just on taking this forward and just digging a little deeper, Anand, Geet, I think as a sports person, very often you lose more than you win, especially in the initial days, in the journey to being a champion. And I just want to know the mindset during those tough phases. And I'm sure you all have gone through really tough phases. Anand, you were saying that you finished last. You're sometimes irritated with yourself, mistakes that could have been avoided. But it happened nevertheless. And now you got to prepare for the next one. So what's your mindset when you're going through a bad phase, and how do you come out of it? Is there some go-to process that you follow?
Generally, it's a process that's very difficult to force because you're fighting with your brain and it's got a mind of its own, so to speak. So it's similar to the stages of grief. First is to come to terms with what has happened, the sense of loss or whatever, and that takes as much time as it takes. Then you sort of take responsibility. This is very important because very often when things go wrong, it'll seem to you like you could have done better. But then the question is, why does it go wrong anyway? So there is some breakdown. It could be sporting, could be psychological, could be physical. But you have to take responsibility and say, well, if I make this mistake again, and just because I know that it's a mistake doesn't mean I could have avoided it, then I have to work backwards and sort of accept that. And then you come out of it. You come to terms with the whole thing and things work out. For me, the last stage is very crucial. I have found that it almost always correlates for me with a huge drop in expectations. So I get to the point where I cease to care about the result.
Are you talking about your personal expectations?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I cease to care about the result. And your personal expectation invariably means I don't care what other people think I should do here as well. Because you always feel a little bit. If people think you should do well, you always think, I should be able to do something. But after enough disappointment, you might hit this thing. And that is it clears your head in a way. And I think it's connected to the fact that sometimes you forget what you got into chess for. I didn't get into chess because of the titles or anything. I got into chess because the moment my mother put a chessboard in front, something fascinated me. So you're always trying to reconnect to that initial feeling. And I can't explain it. One tournament you'll finally get right. You'll get it right. You'll feel slightly liberated. You'll once again take risks. You'll be creative and so on. And then in the end, it always works out. So how can I consciously improve that process? Not all of it. If we could always just implement a method to avoid failure, we would. So, it always comes back in a new form, slightly new shape, slightly modified. You're also changing as a person. The background is changing and things. But the thing is, first I disconnect from the game. Typically after a very bad result, you may want to go on a holiday and actually not even read about anything that's happening in the chess world. You just want to detach yourself totally. And this I've done consistently. So after London that I mentioned, 17, I had a week at home before I had to fly out to Riyadh. And this 1 week, I didn't even bother preparing. It's a waste of time to prepare with this feeling that I have. So I just I spend time with my family, relax, do whatever I want. I'll go there and just deal with it, whatever turns up. And so for the first time in a long time, I'm not worried about whether I'll remember my preparation or do I have my notes right. Just the hell with it, I'll go and play. Same thing happened before the candidates in 2014. I did not look at chess for 1.5 months then. And at the end, I asked one friend to come to Russia in a hurry 5 days before. I said, we'll get there and we'll do some last minute work because there's nothing to be done. And the further you get from the thing, then it often allows you to reset and get back in. When I do it consciously, I will force myself to take some extra risk, something I wouldn't do normally. I would try to change my attitude in certain games. You can always get into autopilot. And we train a lot to be on autopilot, but once in a while, you consciously have to push here and there and see what comes out. And then at some point it will work and you'll feel freer and you start climbing again. So you can't expect to do the same things and get different results. It's kind of the basic point. You just have to keep experimenting and try to do something. Right.
I'll add a disclaimer. If any management students are here, Anand is not encouraging you all to study for your exams just 5 days before the exam.
Okay, I thought that's exactly what I meant.
Geet, in very often in Q Sport matches, you're down by a big margin. You're sitting over there. Your opponent is firing away on all cylinders. Has it ever occurred to you? You're down by a big margin. No one expects you to win from that point, and you come back. And again, what was the mindset at that point?
You know, billiards and snooker billiards especially is in that sense a very brutal because it's a 4-hour game. Sometimes the finals used to be over 8 hours. And when you're playing a final or you're playing a really good player who's, he could be making a break of 500 or 600 or 700 and he's occupying the table for almost 30 minutes. And he's playing beautifully, crowd is appreciating it, the audience is clapping on some great shots, and you're sitting there and watching play. 30 minutes, imagine the potential of thoughts coming into your mind. Gosh, this guy's going to continue on and on. I'm gone. I'm trailing now. Shit, and the scoreboard is right in front of you. Okay, 1,000 and 200. Shit, the difference is 500 now. It's 600. My God, he's not stopping. So much can come to your mind. So what I did very early on, and I think that comes from what Anand just referred to is, why did you play the game? You played the game because of some kick that you get while playing the game. And, just as an audience, you can watch somebody play so much. We all watch such great sport. We actually go to bars and we'll go to places collectively just to watch, excellent sport being played, whatever it may be, Wimbledon or PV Sindhu playing the final of badminton. So, and here I am, I'm playing against, one of the best players in the world, and why can't I just enjoy the game? And so that's what I do. I just get involved in the actual act of my opponent's play. It's beautiful play. So you forget all the negative thoughts. You are just there appreciating. So I think I'm a great believer in positivity and positive thoughts. So the minute you start thinking negative, you're going to go low. And the minute all you're doing is enjoying a great game, it won't allow you to go low. So that's what I do. I enjoy the opponent's game, and I keep saying, my chance will come, and he's damn good. I'm equally good. So the bank balance of practice and the confidence that you have attained over the last 5, 7, 6, 8, 10 years of also performing to that level gives you a very, very subconscious confidence that, hey, he's doing it, I can do it too, because you've done it in the past in practice and you've done it in tournaments. So you've got to keep reminding yourself about that and keep kind of going positive. But I'll just add to the expectation part of it also, and he referred to a point which is so powerful, that you don't play to, for the expectations of the audience or in fact of your parents. And I'll give you a small story. It's very, very important to play for yourself, almost in a selfish kind of a manner, if I can use that word selfish. So, when I was my first junior state championship, before I went to Jamshedpur, I'm playing the finals with this young kid who's actually 1 year younger than me at that time, and I'm trailing. It's a 4-hour match. I'm trailing by, 300-400 points, and it's a club. And the entry of the billiard table is there. I'm sitting here, and the door of the billiard room is actually where the door is. And I'm trailing, and my mom walks in. And she, I'm sitting straight in front of the door. I can't help but see her. And she comes in and she's damn excited. And then she talks to a few people. What's the score? I can see what's happening. And that guy must have said, this Duffer is playing like really bad. He's trailing. So immediately her fell kind of, her face, you know how it is, a mum, yeah. Oh shit, like that. And suddenly this very, very kind of sad and face. And I don't know what happened to me. I just got up and I walked around the table. I went to her. I said, Mom, get out of the billiard room. That was the first and last time she ever entered a billiard room. The point is, I cannot, as a kid of 15 or 16, I don't want the additional burden. One is I'm trailing. I have to focus. I have to be positive. And then I have to have the burden of getting a smile on my mom's face. It's too big a burden. So, and that kind of has stood me in good stead. And I think it's the same thing what he said. You don't play to get a smile on the audience face or your supporters face, or you don't play for your supporters, or you don't play for your core family. You play for yourself, for that joy, because when you started playing. I think that's a very important kind of point that I've
I, I think that's such a beautiful concept, playing for the joy of it. And I remember, Geet, when I was in 9th, 10th standard, the hardest thing to do was to get a smile on my mom's face when she saw my marks in my chemistry paper. And, my mom was a doctor, dad was an engineer, two elder brothers were engineers. But I couldn't seem to understand any equation in chemistry, and plus there were logs and surds and all that. I couldn't understand anything. So I thought after that I better become a good hockey player. uh, let's talk about iconic battles. Again, both of you all have played for so long, and Anand, you have had some iconic rivalries over the years, starting from Kasparov, Karpov, Kramnik, Topalov, Magnus right now. What for you, which has been one of your most memorable rivalries over the years?
For me, probably it would be Kramnik. I still remember seeing him for the first time. It was in 1989. He was 14 years old and much taller than me already. Huge guy. He came in a t-shirt, some shorts, and from time to time he would even go off for a smoke.
During the match?
During the match. I mean, in 89 it was still allowed. And he made an impact because visually itself, he seemed nice and friendly. We spoke a little bit. We drew our game. We spoke a little bit. Then 3 years later, there was suddenly word about this Russian kid. I'd forgotten all about him. There was suddenly word about this Russian kid. Once again, we had played at the same tournament. I was playing in the main tournament. He was playing in the open tournament. And it turned out he won the open tournament. He's one of the first players who never became an international master. He went straight from the previous title all the way to Grandmaster. So he jumped up the stage. And Kasparov gave an interview where he said, this boy is absolutely the future of chess. He's never seen anyone as strong as him, this, that. And I suddenly thought, which boy is this? And I looked at the name didn't really, I didn't connect the dots. Then I saw him and I thought, oh my God, it's that kid I played in Moscow. So, anyway, our rivalry, if you like, started in 92. And very soon we were second and third or something like that, or fourth or fifth in the rating list, always just a little bit apart. And 92 till our match in 2008. And then even after that, we were always, maybe I only thought of him as a rival and a friend. So it continued. And even after Magnus had passed both of us, I always had the feeling we were only concerned about what each other was doing. He retired in 2019. And of course, it didn't last. He's back playing online and everything. But with him is the longest rivalry. I have then had rivalries in stretches with Karpov, my first big rival. So about 3-4 years, I was battling him everywhere. Then Kasparov. That was more of a triangle, like Kramnik, me, Kasparov, three-way. Then for a couple of years, Topalov suddenly became one of the best. So there were these on-off rivalries. At the end of that, there was Magnus Carlsen. That was much shorter. And my rivals their birth dates span 1951 till 1990. So literally, so if you take Karpov, he's 1951, and Magnus is 40 years younger than him.
I think that's a testament to Anand's longevity in the game. So, and just amazing play over so many years.
And so there's a lot of rivalries, but and by the way, I feel that also Kramnik is one of my best friends now. which is nice because even during the rivalry, all the rivalries always had a soft corner for him, and I understood we were fighting for the same thing at this point when you have to put all these things aside, but you know, he also reached out and helped me in a couple of very difficult situations. Lots of good career advice, and it wasn't really the tipping point when I was going to play the candidates. I half considered, do I even need to bother playing these candidates? I mean, the way I'm playing, maybe I should just stop. And then I took him out for dinner one day, and then he was telling me, why don't you play after all? In his very blunt Russian way, you know, you would not get such a nice qualification next time, so enjoy it now and then, so what the hell. So I said, yeah, maybe you're right, I'll do that. I don't think I was really going to give it up, but anyway. He's probably what I think of most as a rival.
Excellent.